Hi, I'm Desiree, and this is the Here I Am podcast. I'm so excited. Today, I have a good friend, Molly Weber. She's Mrs. Fabulous, and I'm so excited to have her today to talk to us about what's in her mental health toolbox and about purpose. So thank you so much for coming on the
I
podcast.
love
I'm
that you said
so,
Mrs. Fabulous.
yeah, you really are
This
Mrs.
is like,
Fabulous. And I feel like you bring so much to people around you and you are a light. And I wanted to share that light with everybody today. And I swear, just like your presence, like makes like people, I think, happy. So,
I try to bring it. Oh,
you do bring it.
yeah.
And I think that's the first thing maybe we should talk about before diving into the mental health toolbox is about purpose, and that sometimes your purpose can just be bringing light to people or giving a smile to a stranger, because that can change their day. And how wonderful if you can change someone's day with just a little smile.
I love that you're giving me that because I feel like that's a get out of jail free card because I bring that all the time. But I do feel, and we talk about this like underwhelming, not necessarily disappointment, but underwhelmment when I look at my accomplishes and look at my life. And I'm 53 and I'm like, what have I done? Oh boy. And there are things, because I'm sitting here today and I came from a galaxy far, far away, Pittsburgh. And certainly getting to this chair today was not an easy task. But on paper, I am highly unaccomplished, which that bothers me. I have insecurities about it.
I think a lot of us do. I mean, I think I can sit and list things that I've done on paper, but I can still feel insecure about what have I accomplished? How have I given back to the world? Like, how have I made a name for myself? But again, going back to even small things, like if you make a difference in one person's life, maybe that one person, if they learned something from you, they could have inspired a million people. So you kind of were the catalyst for making a difference in a million people's life, even if it was just started with just one person.
I always go, I'm trying to amplify the joy,
Right.
amplify the positivity of the situation, whatever the situation may be, like getting a coffee or just sitting with a friend or whatever it is.
And that's huge.
Good morning.
That's huge because you can turn around somebody's day, somebody who had some challenges, let's say in the morning, or wasn't feeling well, and just your smile or, that good morning or that cheer can really change their day. Sometimes,
I love that.
sometimes I'm like walking in the streets and I'm listening to music and like my body, I start like moving to the music and I'm like, I get like a little embarrassed. I'm like, what if somebody sees me? But I'm like, you know what? Who cares? And then you see people around you smile. So I'm like, even that energy of me just like dancing or giving a smile, I can see like a shift in the energy of other people. And I feel like you're so vibrant and like how we call you like Mrs. Fabulous. You're so fabulous that rubs off on people. So I do think that is part of your purpose.
I think, I can feel just vibrational thing, and you as well. You raise the vibration. And when I'm in a not great mood because I am going through some menopause and things in life, I can affect a room with certainly like energy, and I can bring it down though too with my menopause is really happening.
Yeah.
I never thought it would happen to me. I never thought like things like aging were going to happen. I never thought, I just never thought this would, for some reason, it's like that. I'm terminally special and unique. Like I never thought addiction would happen. I never thought, just like these things would happen, but they have.
Happen. Okay.
Menopause as well.
So can you give us some, since we're talking about addiction and menopause and all that, can we now dive into what are some of your go-tos to help you be in the right mental space, and how many years sober have you been?
My sobriety date is June 4th, 2019. Oh my gosh, what a bad day it was. I put myself in an Uber. And of course, like most people pack drunk, I'm an alcoholic, and I packed drunk, which again, a lot of people do. Like when you get to rehab, there's funny things. Like people would just pack from their tool shed and literally a toolbox. And this is like my toolkit, but, come with just things out of their tool shed. But, I didn't have shoes once, but you can just order things. But yeah, I went out to Betty Ford in the desert, and it was probably and I always go, it's never too late to turn it around. It was close to my 10th time in rehab.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But that's so
I was
inspiring that
not,
you
the
still
first.
kept going. It's not like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it was your 10th time, but
Yeah.
now it's been 5 years,
It
right?
took me, I think it would be about 6 years to get 5 years
Years.
of trying and trying. And then like the miracle happened. The miracle of fear
Okay.
was my biggest. That was really, like the gift of fear came in so, so strong.
So is that what you
put me on
attribute
my
it to?
knees.
You attribute it to like being like
My
where
initial
you were at
success.
your rock bottom, like
I
rock bottom.
guess, but
Okay.
I always go, you could knock again and the bottom will open. And if I were to drink, it would go further. Like it wouldn't, I would pick up, my suspicion would be exactly where I left off, which was like incomprehensible, demoralizing. Like I would just end up in the emergency room invariably, or in a police station, or like at the bottom of the stairs covered in blood and like, what happened? Like, or on a neighbor's lawn, or I mean, I had no idea what was going to happen. It was terrifying. Terrifying.
Fine, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
look at where you are now.
Look at me now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably of all the things, that's my greatest accomplishment.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's what I'm most proud of.
And I think you
in
can
my
also
life.
help people and inspire people to show that you've been sober.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
and from all the years of trying, that don't give up,
Yeah.
keep trying.
Yeah. I always go, if I can stop, I swear anybody can do it. Because it was,
Right.
I couldn't make it at some point like seconds without being upset, like the obsession of the alcohol. And one of my last drinks, this is bizarre and like, but again, like alcoholics have crazy stories. I had been given a drug called the Antabuse, and it's a drug that is, it's really a deterrent. It's not really a medication. If you drink on it, it blocks the enzymes so you can digest the alcohol. And so you can die if you drink on it. And I was dealing with an addiction doctor, and he said, take 2 today and then you won't drink. And I was like, okay, 2 it is. And I got on my knees and said, dear God, please, not today. And then I said, okay, it's just going to be a sip. And there's the lie. Beware the lies we tell ourselves, because it starts there. And I said, I'm going to have a sip. And I went to take a sip because I didn't use glasses at that point. They would slow me down,
Oh, wow.
And I drank out of the bottle, and it was a bottle of rosé. And I downed the entire bottle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
With taking those
2 Antabuse. And then I put it down. Can we swear? And I said,
maybe we could bleep it out.
OSHIT, what's going to happen? And I had a seizure. And
Oh, wow. So was that the last time you
that
drank?
was the last time I drank on Antabuse. That
Okay.
was not the last time I drank, though.
Oh, okay.
I went to Betty Ford. It would have been it was a few days after that, because I was like, I'm going to be dead. Like, I'm going to die.
Right.
But that was the last time I ever took Antabuse. And the fear, and I kept, as I was chugging, I kept going, put the bottle down, put the bottle down. And I could not. Powerless.
That's challenging. So what went from you being powerless to now it's been 5 years of
Yes.
powerful. So what
Still
make
powerless over alcohol. Still powerless over alcohol.
that's
Yeah.
but from my point of view, I don't think that you're powerless. I think that you're powerful because you haven't gone back to drinking. So I know that like
Yes.
the alcohol would make you powerless, but right
Yeah.
now you are actually the one in control, and you're not going towards that. And
Right.
I don't think it's not just addiction to alcohol. A lot of people have different kinds of addictions.
Whack-a-mole. Yeah.
Yeah,
Things pop up and all of a sudden, food, shoes,
right.
TV, Netflix, gossip. I mean,
Negative
it just,
thoughts. Another
ooh,
addiction.
I love that.
Yeah. So
Correct.
there's so many different addictions that we can have. And I think
Mm-hmm.
most of us have it. Like I even have things that I'm addicted to, like the negative thoughts, and I have to sit
Yeah.
there and feed it positive thoughts instead.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not negative thoughts, maybe it's more like overthinking. I think that's my issue.
Perseveration. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that this is helpful to everyone out there because you don't necessarily have to have an addiction like alcohol or drugs or
Right.
something that would take you to Betty Ford.
Right.
But like there's some people who have addiction to sugar or to too much exercise. So it's all about balance, and how can we bring it back to tell our listeners like what is in your toolbox, and I can share what's in my toolbox that helps us stay balanced and not overdo something, even if it's something like
Right.
exercise.
Moderation.
Right.
Yeah. Keeping it in moderation. Yeah. And, my toolbox. My goodness, like there are so many things. I used a go-to yesterday. and it sounds, like maybe contradictory, but I needed to get in bed and I needed to spend a few hours crying under the covers, and then I needed to spend a couple hours with Netflix. And the school of thought with that is like some people are like, don't feed the don't feed the depression by getting in bed. But for me, and this is all for me, and my understanding is like eventually I'm going to want to get out of bed.
Right.
And miraculously I do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and damn, I feel better.
Right.
Fantastic. But that is one of my faves. And certainly I'm a foodie. And the first year of sobriety, and they say sugar is the most addicted to substance actually on the
Right.
planet. So
Yes.
sugar is numero
Yes.
uno. I gave myself grace because my life was on the line. I was like, whatever it is I want, it matters not, as long as it's not alcohol.
Right.
I can have it. I can do it. I can whatever it.
But that was just transitional because I feel like you're
Transitional.
not doing that now.
Nope.
And going back to the sitting with your emotions and being in bed, I think that a lot of us, including myself,
Yeah.
when a sign of I'm not feeling as great as I normally do, or I'm not happy, what can I do to chase that happiness? What could I do to just feel good right now? And a lot of times it's like, okay, let me go eat something sweet or something that I love, or let me go buy that shoe because I'll get that instant hit of dopamine.
Right.
But actually going and being in bed and sitting with your emotions and knowing that it's going to pass,
Yeah.
I think is the healthiest way, because nothing is permanent.
Right.
Feeling good, hopefully, like for the most part we will, but that's also not permanent because we're going to have days where we don't feel so good. So just knowing that everything is temporary, whether it's feeling great and giddy one day or feeling a little sad one day. So
The weather of our emotions. Yeah. It's like the clouds will pass, the sun
Right.
will shine. And trusting that when you're not, when you're in the doldrums. But bed is for me, it's a great
comfort. Yeah.
It's such a great tool.
I hear you.
Sugar can be. Yeah, but we do. Like, I don't want to feel the feelings.
But
the
sometimes
bad
we
feelings,
have to
like-
feel them to
and
get to
we
the other side.
must.
And the
Yeah.
other thing that I found very important is to not judge ourselves when we feel that way, because I don't know about you, but a lot of times, like if I'm not feeling good, like why am I not feeling good? Like I should be happy. I have so much to be grateful for. And
Right.
we all have things to be grateful for, but I think it's okay to not be okay some days as
Right.
well. So
Yeah,
not
I get
judging
shame
ourselves.
around it.
I
Like,
do too.
yeah?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
I'm like, why?
understand.
Why should I be feeling like that? There's no reason for me to feel this way.
And depression for me, that feels like a shame thing.
But we're human and there's different emotions that we're going to inevitably go through. And
Yeah.
so taking away the stigma and the shame and
Mm-hmm.
the judgment, I think is the first step. Because for me, like when I'm having the shame of not feeling great,
Mm-hmm.
then it spirals into feeling worse. You know,
Right.
it's a horrible
A
combination.
shame cycle where,
Yeah.
yeah, the shame is it serves no purpose except for, then I was going to say, well, there is healthy shame so we don't pull down our pants in public. Healthy shame. But shame is a pretty useless, empty feeling that, yeah, just pile it on, you
Yeah.
know? And I did have some shame about the bed yesterday, and I was like, F it. I need to be in bed. If it amounted, oh no, what happened to that week? Okay, then yeah, then there's another issue going on. But invariably, we rise. And I had to come here today, which was again, I'm going to go, one of the highlights of my year. I know.
Aw, so
It's
sweet.
really, well, flattering and exciting. And I was like, what more would I want to do than come and sit and have a conversation with you with a camera and
Yes.
lights and just you?
Aw, thank you. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to have you here and for you to
Thank
share
you.
your story with us.
Wow. If, like, I always go, if all that suffering, those years of drain year, all of that could help one person
Exactly.
experience less, I'm like, oh my gosh, then there's the purpose.
Right.
Like, that's the purpose.
It is. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
times when we go through challenges, like I've had many challenges in my life. I, struggled with IVF, I had miscarriages. I've recently gone through a divorce. So people hearing your challenges can actually make them feel like they're not
Not
alone.
alone.
Because a
Yeah.
lot of times when I was going through my challenges and I didn't know anybody else or people didn't talk about it or it was taboo,
Yeah.
I felt like people didn't understand me.
Right.
And so I'm so open about what I've gone through because there's somebody out there listening who's going through the same thing
Yeah.
and they'll know that they're not alone. And how beautiful is that? So that ties back to being purposeful.
Purpose.
Yeah.
Right. And, like, if that's the purpose, fantastic. They
Right.
always say the opposite of addiction is connection. Which, yeah, it's not like an alone thing. You have to. I love when people say, like, well, I'm going to get sober on January 1st. And I'm like, well, that's an arbitrary date. And what's your plan and who are you going to do it with? Because like recovery or like life, it doesn't happen alone. Like, it just doesn't. We need to bring people in
And community.
and community and the fellowship and yeah, and togetherness is the
Yes.
way out of, yeah, if there's ever anything really, really dark, I'm like, the easiest way out, call somebody else and say, how are you feeling?
Aw.
And then use their misery to make you feel like, I'm not so bad. But,
Well, they say when
Yeah.
you're not feeling good, if you can help somebody else
Yeah.
during, that's like such a blessing. That's so giving back because
Yeah.
you're not in the best space, but you're helping somebody else get out of their funk.
And it's the quickest way. I do think it's the quickest way. If you're really like, I'm in a time crunch, I don't have hours to lay in the bed.
Right. So it sounds like
Yeah.
one part of your mental toolbox is community and having, because it's not just calling somebody who needs the help, but it's also sometimes it's okay for you to ask for help. It's okay for you
Yes.
to call your friend and say like, oh, I'm not feeling so great. And for
Yeah.
them to lift you up. So
Yeah.
I think both ways
One
can
of
work.
my things, like, it's a huge one in my toolbox. I call it my board of directors. And so, like, I have different people for different things. you know, like if it's an argument with my honey bear, or if it's with my family, or if it's with a sobriety problem, or if it's whatever the issue is, yeah, like I have a board of directors of, I don't have any men, or no, Stephen is on my board of directors, but yeah. Oh, and I have somebody who I know, she's always in a perpetual state of doldrums. I can call her and I will always feel better.
Aw.
And give her support,
Right.
which it's a twofer.
Yes.
We're all winning. I know I can check in with her and it's immediately going to take me out of me because she's in so much pain.
Oh.
Yeah. Poor thing.
So let's go back to the mental toolbox. So, for me personally, in my mental toolbox, my mental health toolbox, journaling is number one. So meditating and journaling, exercising, those are all part of it. But journaling for me, because I'm such an overthinker, and they say for overthinkers, journaling is great because you get it out on paper. It gives me clarity. It makes me instantly feel better. It makes me connect to the higher power, to God. So like it always starts with "Dear God," and I always like just write what I'm feeling, like what I'm grateful for, and also like what I need help with. So that's like huge for me for my mental well-being. And then music
Yes.
is like, wow, it makes such a huge difference. So when I'm getting ready, I'll put music on and I'll dance, and it'll like, instantly lift me up.
Yeah.
So I think looking externally, while it can help, so like we talked about, like calling somebody, but I also think figuring out what we can do internally and how we can rely on ourselves to make ourselves feel better is the biggest thing that you can have in your mental health toolbox.
I love that. I love that. And journaling, my question now is, I love that you phrase it, "Dear God." That's so good. I tend to journal more when I'm having the perseveration problem and I can't let something go, because I can nurse a resentment like, like the Octomom. Like I can nurse, a resentment the size of Texas and I won't let it go. And so for that, I do. But do you write, like, do you ever write poetry, I'm thinking, or like, how do you express it on paper?
Sometimes I'm inspired and I'll make up a poem. I like rhyming a lot, so I'll do like rhyming poems. But I think for the most part, like on my daily journaling, I journal daily. So it's just journaling the thoughts that are coming into my head and like the things that worry me or the things that I need help with. So a lot of my journaling you'll see is I say, God, please give me confidence. Help me be confident. Help me be strong. Help me be a light today. Like, help me be loving. Help me be open to love. So it's constantly like, there's the gratitude portion, but there's a lot of the help me. Like, help me be this. Help me, help me channel your light so that I can be a light for other people. Help me find my purpose. So I'm constantly like asking to be guided. And
you're giving me ideas. Like that's really powerful. Like first of all, like having the intention, being aware of it is powerful. Putting it to paper, I feel like that's
difference.
an extra level.
And I feel like you manifest
and you
that
do
way.
Pen to paper. You don't
I do pen to paper
pen
because
paper.
I feel like it's just
brain connection.
Yeah,
there's something.
Yeah, and it's releasing. So I feel like it's my way of also letting go of control and letting the universe work its magic. So, and a lot of the times I'm also writing like, help me let go, like help me,
give me the willingness
surrender.
to let it go.
And just, see where life takes me, and, wonderful doors will open and miracles will happen. And I think they do when you are not so like obsessive with what's going to happen, or you're not like overthinking what's going to happen. You just kind of just let it. Obviously, you do your part, but
destiny is not passive; it must be active.
Yes,
but to sit in acceptance is so powerful, and the opposite of sitting in acceptance is just agony.
Right.
And accepting to go back to alcoholism, but sitting in acceptance that that I was that was a tough pill to swallow. Um, yeah, but acceptance definitely has to come when we're facing adversities. And the sooner we get through that, I think the quicker we're back on the joy train, you know?
Mhm.
But those are also the dark times, I do think, are the times we grow the most, unfortunately. Um,
Well, they say
unfortunately,
out of darkness comes the
comes
light.
the light. Yeah.
So again, like I have to applaud you. Like 5 years of
Oh,
sobriety is
it's amazing.
amazing.
It's a miracle.
Yes.
I really do go like it's I never thought it would happen. And they say in the program, oh, it's a life, and it's kind of ridiculous, a life beyond your wildest dreams. And people think, oh, cash and prizes. And what I really was wanting was, I was like, please, dear God, like give me a day without a craving, because oh my gosh, the cravings for alcohol were so bad for 2 years. And 2 years in, the cravings disappeared.
That's amazing. So
Yeah,
what helped you in those 2 years to like when you had a craving come up? Like what did you
right.
what did you do to,
The toolbox.
okay.
And it was, and it was, um,
So calling a friend.
calling a lifeline, doing for others, being in meetings, fellowship, which was such an interesting time during Zoom because we changed so much. And Zoom was like one of the best times of my life because I actually got sober during that. And had I not used that opportunity to get sober, I had a lot of friends, acquaintances, because I had been to rehab so many times, who died
Oh,
during COVID from yeah, the getting to a meeting and the togetherness and switching to Zoom for me worked amazingly. I think because it had to, because I was
It's
determined.
interesting though, because now that you say that, I'm like, what an
Hmm.
interesting time to get sober.
Oh, it was.
Because I feel like
Yeah.
during that time, most people were actually scared and they
Uh-huh.
turned more to external things
They
to make
did.
them, to pacify themselves. So,
Hmm.
what an interesting time that you actually turned it around. And
I think at the time a lot of alcoholics were born
yeah,
like during that
that's exactly
moment.
that's what I'm saying.
And
Like
addiction
that's
was really,
incredible that you actually,
I reversed
reversed
it.
it.
I know. It is again, it's a miracle. Had I been drinking during that time, I would have been dead. It would have been like down the stairs, or some craziness would have happened. But
I think from what it sounds to me, part of it is that you knew that if you drink, you would not be alive. So I
yeah,
think it came down to that because a lot of times people think that they're invincible,
right.
So I
Yeah,
think you came to the harsh reality that you're not invincible and
absolutely.
that you would not be sitting here today if it wasn't for you getting the power and
The
to stop, yeah,
willingness.
to
It's like
stop.
that willingness to let God in and say, I can't control this. I can't manage this. Because it's like every alcoholic dream that we could control or manage our alcoholism. And the willingness to go, like, I cannot. Um, ooh, that's a hard one. But I was there, and like the stars aligned, COVID happened,
Right.
Zoom happened, and yeah, like I grew up. Like yeah, it happened, which it's a miracle.
Miracle,
It's a
yes.
miracle. And yeah, friends who were going into treatment during COVID. It was a really interesting time for people struggling with sobriety.
Hmm.
For a lot of people, it was a hard time. For me, it was the greatest blessing, which I know it sounds absolutely nuts, but yeah, it happened then.
Thank God for that.
Thank God for
I mean,
COVID. I know.
but
But thank God
thank
for
God. And
COVID.
going back to your purpose,
Yeah.
I feel like this is part of your purpose. Like you went through that
Yeah.
so that you can inspire others and help others know that they can too.
You hear that, sponsees? They don't listen to me. I get these sponsees, and it's like, I so deserve it, because I used to flake on sponsors. You ask these people, will you be my sponsor? And it's like, kind of getting married, but not. And then they drag you through the steps willingly or unwillingly. And of course, now like I'm on the other side, and I have these people who look to me for answers. And oh boy, it's
But you've been in
that's
their
purpose.
position, so you know that
Oh, I know.
it could take time. So
Oh, I know. And I
at
know
least
when
you
they
feel
flake
them.
on me,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it's so not like,
Yeah.
the taking things
Right.
personally. Yeah, because I flaked on so many women. And uh, it's such a divine honor to help somebody.
Of course it
Like,
is.
and yeah, I would go with, for now and today, like, that is the
Purpose.
purpose. That's my
Yes. And again,
purpose.
like it's wonderful to have purpose by being a doctor or a lawyer or some kind of
Yeah,
profession, but it doesn't discount the purpose that you have when you're helping other people, whether
right.
it be, again, something as small as a smile. Or I
Yeah.
remember calling you up one day and telling you, or was it a text or something, that I was like, your purpose is also that you are an amazing partner to Stephen. So
You need to call him and tell
yeah,
him, because he
I mean, I think the first thing is for
yeah.
you to recognize that, and for
Yeah.
you to know that, like, part of your purpose is you're also contributing to him and
Mhm.
to your relationship. And, so that's nothing to be taken lightly either. So,
Yeah.
whether there's someone out there who's a mother or a wife or
Right.
a girlfriend or, a daughter, and is helping their family, or that's also purpose.
Yeah, and an esteemable act. Like, yeah,
Yes.
how do we build self-esteem? Well, by esteemable acts, which, you're so right, can be so small, but just to shift somebody. Like,
Right.
uh, yeah, that's kind of, yeah, like that's,
And just
I
and
think, what it's
recognizing
about.
that.
Right. And not like, I diminish, I deflect, I do all these things
Yes.
that I always accuse my honey of doing.
So that's why I
But
brought it back, because you're like, call up
right,
Steven. I'm like, I don't need to call up Steven. I need to call you up and tell you, because it
girl.
starts with you, you recognizing that and accepting that,
Yes.
and, being your own cheerleader. So, like, a lot of times, even
Yeah.
for me, like, I've wanted the approval of my parents, or, the approval of my ex-husband, but it doesn't come
Yeah.
to the approval of others. It's us approving ourselves. So if we approve ourselves, then we don't need
Hmm.
the approval of others. So just applaud yourself. You
I've
don't
been
need the
thinking a lot about recently internal and external validation.
mhm.
And, I wonder, I'm wondering, is that, like, I would assume it's healthy childhood, or like, where does that piece come in, where we develop our own internal validation? Because because I, yeah, like, that's a
It
big
is. It
struggle.
is. And it's something that I
That's
personally work
huge.
on a daily basis. Like, I have
Yeah.
little notes. I have a post-it on,
Right?
on my mirror that says,
That's,
I approve of myself, or I accept myself. I love myself the way that I am. I have little, like, reminders, telling myself that I love myself.
yeah.
I try to high five myself in the mirror. So a lot of positive self-talk,
Yeah.
even if you don't believe it at first. Like they say, fake it till you
Where do
make
you
it.
think that comes from? Do you think that's like, the literally goes back to our childhood? Or where do you think
I
this
think
comes
for
from?
most of us, like as a child, our parents, they mean well, but obviously, but like they're
Right.
gonna tell us, oh, don't touch this or don't do that, because they want us to be safe. So it comes from like the goodness of their heart, that they want us to be safe and they want to teach us.
Right.
But I think that sometimes then it takes away from our learning to be confident.
Mm-hmm.
And
And fill that ourselves.
yeah, so I think that
Yeah.
just naturally happens as humans. It's not just our parents, and it becomes society.
Right.
Society tells us what's right and what's wrong. So I
And
think,
right. Insta social, and like this necklace and that. And yeah,
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 so I
yeah.
think it's
Getting
up
that
to
in
us
there.
to retrain ourselves to learn to accept ourselves, to love ourselves, and to become confident. And a lot of times it just takes a lot of, I think, work with affirmations and journaling. And I think exercising is a huge
Oh, yeah.
mental health boost as well.
Oh, yeah. And then like patting yourself on the back and being like, good job, Molly. I can't speak about myself in first person. And people who do that, I'm always like, a-hole. But that would be, I can recognize emotionally healthier than to just go, meh, why isn't he reading my mind and telling me how wonderful I am?
It goes back to you have to tell
I
yourself how wonderful you are.
Yes.
And then you won't seek his approval.
Exactly. Which, oh boy, we'll have to come back in like 10 years and see how that one goes. Because that one's like, right?
Yeah, I think it's for everybody.
Daily.
Yeah, no, I just think everyone struggles with self-doubt, and I think it's a very normal thing that has happened to the society where we have to go back and love ourselves and figure out, again, go back to our mental toolbox of what can I do to increase my happiness? What can I do to increase my self-love? What brings me joy? And
amplify the positive, like amplify the good, amplify the, I just saw this. So I was like, we're going to we're just giving you the love. We'll spread the love.
Thank you so much for tuning in and spending your time with us. If you've enjoyed what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share the episode with someone who'd love it too. You can follow us on Instagram at Desiree Meharuni or at the Here I Am podcast for behind-the-scenes content and updates. We'll be back soon with more stories, insights, and conversations that matter.